Good morning. This is the office hour for Oregon State University PDC-PRO, summer 2023. This is call number 2, and the next lesson due is assignment 2 on July 24th. And we're just waiting for people to show up. So I'm going to give you, for those of you watching the replay, I'm going to give a bit of a quick overview, and then you won't have to sit here watching me. So I put some notes into the document here, just giving you some quick pointers on the key points for this lesson. The main thing with the base map is to ensure your images are clear and directly overhead, so they're not taking an angle. Like sometimes with Google Earth, as you're zooming in, it tends to like tilt the viewing angle. So make sure you are like perpendicular to ground. Ensure your scales are very accurate. So this is a really good place to start getting practice with. You can capture the Google Earth scale. I always recommend measuring something on the ground if you can. You know, something that's like 10 to 20 feet is a really good idea if you're on like a suburban site. If you're on a bigger site, maybe something a little bit longer, like a stretch of fence line that is straight, so that you can measure that accurately, you know, either with a wheel tape on the ground or a tape measure. But always trust your ground measurements. And I see students get caught up a little bit in this of like, you know, you get doing so much stuff online that you're like, wait, do I trust this like really super like heavy duty program, or do I trust what I see on the ground? And always trust what you see on the ground, because your tape measure is going to be correct. Check the assignments list. So when you go to your topic, so your assignment resources, your base map, there's these assignment elements. Make sure that you've included everything here that applies to your site. Some are not going to have a roof line, for instance, and so on. Okay, so my first students are showing up, so I'm going to switch over to serving them, and then you'll catch all of this through the replays. Hi, Kim. Oh, get a wave.
Hi.
Okay, so hi, Kim. I was just going through a little bit of the Google Doc for anyone catching the replay.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Good. I got a few emails from folks that were looking for the Zoom link, so I'm assuming that it's going to be more than just you today.
Yeah, I appreciated you emailing that. I was looking for it too.
Kitty. Yeah, I'm gonna try and see if I can set that up as a recurring reminder. Yeah, because even I sometimes end up scrambling. I'm like, oh, I can find it in the Google Doc, I can find it in my Notion, I can find it like in discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I understand. How is your base mapping going?
I actually have a survey map that was made a few years ago. So I've uploaded that and I can use that, but I'm also trying to learn Google Earth and do it that way, but it's definitely a learning curve. So
yeah, okay. Have you figured out doing an image overlay on Google Earth?
That's what I'm struggling with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We can work through that a little bit here if you want to. It can be tricky. It takes a little bit of like, you know, sometimes you get I can find you can get like 95% there, like one corner will always be a little bit off, but you kind of pick. Is it what are you struggling with it, or
just lining it up, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
And I also don't know like the scale thing. I need to understand that completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you having a hard time like figuring out if your scale is accurate, or what's the struggle there?
Just how to label it. Like when I use Google Earth, what's the scale? What's the feet? Like what I should have it at? I don't, and then.
Okay. Are you finding the scale bar on the bottom right? I'll open it up and I can do a screen share.
Okay.
I've got a property boundary already loaded in here from a client project. So. Okay. So your scale, oh, I'm not sharing this screen, am I? Sure. Okay. So if you're to load your site, so this is the white rectangle right here that we're looking at. So I talk a little bit about this, and I don't know, maybe I talk a lot about it. I don't know. When you zoom in, Google Earth always like tips it. It's like it's going in kind of at an angle to ground. So then just getting it straightened out can be a minute. And then if you double tap the N, or double click the N, it'll reorient it so north is directly above.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, zoom in, see, and it tips it again.
Yeah.
There may be a setting somewhere that I haven't found yet that you can like really set that to like remain perpendicular, but I haven't found it yet. Okay, so then you've got all your like lat long elevation along your bottom right. But if you go to save an image of this, so this is the whatever. Close that up. Then you get the scale at the bottom, on the bottom right, and a clear rows. So the issue I have with only using the Google Earth scale is that it's really easy to obscure it. Like if I move it over this white roof, it's, you know, it's hard to see. If I move it over something really dark, you know, you'd think the white text would show up, but it just kind of gets cluttered by whatever's behind it. So what I really prefer that students do, and like what I would like to see on a client report is, you know, you use that scale, but calibrate one of the scale bars to fit it. Yeah. And then you can chop that up. So if that's 300 feet, you can chop it down to like 150 feet, 50 feet, 25, whatever, you know, to suit, you know, if there's like a roof line on your house that's like approximately 25 to 30 feet, then, you know, you could show that as a marker. Yeah. Does that help? Is that clearer?
Yes, that was super helpful.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the scale bar doesn't actually come up until you go to save the image.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and then you can customize your legend here. Let me see, like you can just retype, I mean, call it a property line instead, but it takes its default from the markers that are saved there, so.
Yeah, thank you.
And then if you want to change that, you can just hit a refresh from view and it'll reload what was in there. Do you want to pull yours up?
It's on the, how do I do it? I don't know how.
Okay. I'm going to make screen sharing available to everyone. Okay, so now it should be available to you, so you can share your screen and show what you're working on.
Okay, I've never done this before. Share screen. So I press. Oh, okay. I should have this open then. Oh, I can show you my map then, my survey map, and you can see if I can just use this.
Sure.
Zoom in. Then share screen.
Oh, okay. I don't have your project bookmarked in my folder yet.
Did that one?
Oh, there we go. Okay, I see it. Perfect. Beautiful. Yeah, okay. So the thing with this is because it's a because it's a JPEG image, I presume it's a JPEG, not a PNG or anything. All of the text gets really, really hard to read. Yeah. So what I would do is use this map as like a base layer, but recreate or like pick out the main elements of the legend
Mhm.
and like rewrite that so that it'll come up as actual text, and then it's a
Okay.
lot clearer to read. But yeah, this is great to use as a base map.
Okay, I'll just go with this then.
Okay, and I can see on the next slide, you know, you made that outline.
Yeah, I'm
So-
trying. That's why I'm struggling.
Okay. I don't, it looks good to me.
Okay, yeah, I don't have the scale bar there, but
Okay.
yes.
Now, is this a site that you're on or you can get to? I don't remember.
I'm in Long Beach. This is in Palo Verde, so it's like 45 minutes from us. We
Okay.
bought it about 10 years ago. But yeah, we stored some materials. We wanted to do things, but we're not allowed to do anything. So it's kind of just had to have it because it's a beautiful property overlooking the ocean.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I'm excited to do this. We have weed abatement twice a year. They have us clear the land, and I would really like to put some cover crop in there and just get
Yeah.
it, start doing that, getting the soil healthy again.
Sure. And refresh my memory, this is a couple of acres?
It's a little bit less than one. We have
Oh,
the
a little less
one
than one,
property
okay.
next to it too. But it's a
Oh.
separate.
Oh, you own the property next to it too? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh, nice, okay. So why are you not designing the whole thing as a whole package?
Well, my husband and I are separating, and there are some complications with that other lot, the way it was. I don't know, we got it, I guess. And they're just
Okay.
on to, I don't know.
Okay. I understand. Okay. Okay.
So we have, yeah, so there is a fencing around the two properties as they are one, but they are split down the middle, and I will
Gotcha.
garden, half of it. And
Okay. What is the stuff in the middle here? Is that like storage containers?
it's just building materials. We got like
Gotcha.
tiles. My husband wanted to, really get into starting to do something out there, but we got stopped. And but we're allowed to store things there. It's just cement tiles. They need to be removed. But yeah, that's for later. So there's a few things like that there.
And what's the zoning? Is it like strictly residential, or can you build on it eventually, or what's the?
The moratorium has been in place since the 70s. So there's houses on all sides because they built the house before the 70s. We bought the property from the lady who just didn't want to keep up because we have to clear the land twice a year, and it's expensive and it's property tax, but we're not allowed to do anything. We had to fight to get water because they wouldn't allow it. They said, you're not allowed to build anything, but we said, it's land, give us water at least. We have the right for that. So, yeah, but it is residential.
Okay, so you can, all right. Can you keep a temporary building on it, like a mobile structure?
Pretty much everyone in the community has properties that are not allowed. They have, added to their house in one way or another.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay.
I would like to put a yurt in there. I think that would be really cool on top there as a like a day use kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's exciting to be in this class and to be able to get feedback because it is a big project and I want to do something with it, but we have these constraints of not being able to put a house in there.
Yeah. Okay. Is that something you knew when you bought it?
Yeah, we knew that.
You did. Okay.
But it's a moratorium and it's supposed to be lifted. A different part of the community, the residents went together and they sued the city and they eventually got the right to build. So
oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not for me, maybe for my kids. So I want to be able to garden it. In the meantime, make the soil healthy, put some,
Yeah.
butterfly, pollinator garden, some bees, things like that, at least.
Okay. Can you drop the link to, I'm going to stop your share.
Mhm.
I think. Oh, here's Hector. Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. Oh, here we go.
Start video. And
Oh, hi, Hector. It sounds like there might be some feedback.
good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, there we go. Hey, nice to meet you, Susan.
Hey,
Kim,
you
how-
too. I'm just trying to find Kim's assignment here. I'm scrolling in the background, so I look like I'm kind of checked out. Here we go. Here's Kim's. Okay. So I went through grading a bunch, and then I realized I hadn't bookmarked them into the folder. So then it's harder to pull them up quickly. So I do that. Okay, good morning. How are you doing with Basemap client survey, Hector?
1 second.
Great.
With Basemap. Okay, so I've done the readings and I've started looking at the videos for the Basemap assignment for assignment number 2. However, I haven't started the slides yet, right? I've only skimmed through them, and my plan is for this week to fill in the slides for assignment number 2.
Okay, great. Okay.
And I guess I have
you're...
questions. I don't know if I should go ahead and ask them right now with regards to.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Kim and I were just chatting about like bring up the scale, like some Google Earth stuff, and like using a survey map and image overlays and stuff like that. I've got kind of an overview of what the main issues that students usually run into with the Basemap and client survey in the Google Doc. But I mean, this is your time to ask questions, so fire away.
Okay, so I guess this one's mostly technology related. It is, so normally, I saw the list, the Excel of the softwares that are normally used, right, to make the maps. Now,
Yeah.
what are, let's say we're just starting out, right? In my case, I've never done any landscaping, any maps. What would you recommend that we start off with, right? I saw in the presentations or in examples, there are a few pictures of some software being used, but it's not mentioned which one it is, right?
Okay.
So what would you recommend?
I recommend starting with like Google Earth. It's free, it's easy, it's relatively easy. There is a learning curve to it, and there's like some little handy tricks that make it easier to use. And there's some things that are like, why does it not do this? Am I doing something wrong? Am I stupid? And it's like, no, it just doesn't do that. So that there is kind of a learning curve to it, but it's cheap, it's powerful, and it's very commonly used. In terms of like making images, you can get into like all kinds of digital design software and stuff. Honestly, most of the time I default back to using either Google Slides or PowerPoint for actually editing graphics, like including editing images and stuff. They're both actually relatively powerful. They've got a lot of functionality that, like, to the extent that you would need in the course. And even, I mean, I know plenty of like, professional level consultants and designers that essentially just use those up to a certain point, and then they'll either transfer it to someone that uses Adobe Illustrator. I know a lot of people are switching to Affinity Designer, which I really like. I use. Yeah, so I think Google Earth, Google Slides, or PowerPoint if you're doing it for imaging stuff. Yeah, keep to the basics and learn those, and then you can you can go down a rabbit hole with like QGIS and stuff, but don't do it in this course. I made the mistake I made the mistake of kind of doing a beta offer with a client, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity to learn QGIS. I also had a 6-month-old baby. I also it it was
The
so
word
big.
concept.
Yeah, it's so powerful. It's an awesome program and it's free. But I think it's too big when you're just learning the design basics. So
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned Google Earth. Well, I've already downloaded the Pro version. And yes, I agree. It's quite powerful, but you know, for the first assignment, it was a really steep learning curve. I think I've got a little bit of a handle on it now. But
Yeah.
and you also mentioned Affinity Designer, and then what was the third one that I could potentially look at?
Oh, Adobe Illustrator is something that people use for like really high-end graphics. But honestly, like Adobe Illustrator is on a subscription model, and
Yeah.
Affinity products, like there's Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, I think is what they call it. There's essentially an analog. Everything in Adobe has an analog in Affinity, but Affinity does like they call it a lifetime subscription model. You pay if you want the upgrades, right? So I've paid for a couple of upgrades, but it's like, I think they were all under $75, whereas Adobe, you're paying $20 a month forever.
Got it. Okay.
So that's,
Perfect. And then I think the last one that you mentioned was QGIS or something like that.
Oh, QGIS, yeah. So it's QGIS. And it's essentially like an open source version of ArcGIS.
Got it.
But
okay.
That's the route you go when you're like, oh, I really love mapping. I want to get super geeky about this. It's very, it's fairly easy to get into a place with it where coding really helps you out, which most students I work with aren't there. I mean, I did a bunch of coding like through grad school. I'm fairly comfortable with coding, and I just don't recommend going into it if you're not like, if you don't find it super sexy and fun. Yeah, because you'll tear your hair out. If you ever want to do that, I know who to send you to learn it. In the Agrarians group, there's Georgie Pavlov teaches a really, really comprehensive, very step-by-step QGIS course. But for most students, most people, I don't recommend it. Yeah.
All right. And then, if I go back to I don't know if I should share my screen, I guess, but in slide number 21, in my assignment, I guess I'm looking at a map where it says Basemap.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to see. I do have yours here. Okay.
I'm just pulling up your. What was used there, I guess, because I see the handwriting at the, or the hand-drawn map, but then what would I guess the first image, I guess the one in the middle.
You're talking about in the example?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and then I can. Okay, so not this one. That's like from a survey map. So Kim, this is a good example of, yeah. Oh, this is the hand-drawn one you're talking about, Actor.
Yes, exactly. It's the same one as slide number 21. So I get, this slide also works.
Okay.
But it's the one in the middle.
Oh, so this one?
Yeah, I think I'm almost positive they're the same.
Yeah.
As number 23, they're just
one is just a grayscale of the other one. And the reason you do a grayscale is because, if you're doing something for a client and they want to print it off or photocopy it for whatever reason, you want to make sure it comes up clear. Why can't I move this? You want to make sure it comes up clear without color. Because, sometimes we choose colors and then we get into it and it's like, oh, this, pink and orange actually look identical once you print it out. That's
exactly. Okay, got it. Yeah. So what was, I guess the question there is, what was used to make that middle map? I guess I've seen it in other presentations in the videos. I've seen this software being used and looks fairly simple, but I don't know really.
Okay, when you say this map, so this one, the one that's obviously like computer generated. I honestly, I couldn't tell you because, I mean, they've got a topographic map in there. They might have, it all depends. Like if you're in the US, some counties have really solid GIS data. Like most of California, for instance, is LiDAR mapped. So you can get good topographic maps, good contour data. That might have been something that went through QGIS, so you can get the raw data and then put it into a topographic map, and you can like, you know, pick your line depths and like which line steps gets highlighted. So that is not a like, hey, pull up my property, look at the sexy map that I got. This is like, there's some serious work that went into developing that kind of clarity.
Yeah. So this is very custom, basically. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So
Okay,
okay. So yeah. So don't feel like you're doing something wrong if you don't get to this level, because this is pretty clear. They had a very nice topo map to work with. The scale bar you could totally recreate based on, you know, the Google Earth scale. Have you been like printing, not printing, but like saving images off of Google Earth?
Yeah, normally, at least for the first assignment, that's exactly what I did. I just found the pictures there and then I exported them with like the legend on the bottom right.
Yeah.
And that was it. I mean, that was
okay.
That
so
was,
you've seen how. So, you know, I'm looking at these and it's looking like. Did you do the save image inside? Oh yeah, you did. You got the scale. Okay. Because you don't get the scale unless you're doing a save image. Like what I see a lot of students do is like a print screen or a screenshot, and that doesn't capture the scale bar. Only only a save image will. Yeah. Okay. So you're their own boat with that. I don't know. I don't see that I made a comment on it. I do prefer to see a scale bar that like clarifies what the default Google Earth does, because like, I mean, I take it into account that I'm looking at this on my laptop, right? Most of the time, like it's a big screen laptop, but it's still a laptop. So I like my resolution is pretty poor, and I keep that in mind. But a lot of times, what happens is the scale bar usually only shows one number. So it's like, oh, this whole thing is 300 feet. Well, great, that's fine. It's nice to have those scale bars where it like breaks it down into a couple of different denominations.
got it.
Personally,
okay.
You know, and it's nice when it's really crisp and clear. So that's why I say like use the Google Earth scale as to calibrate it. But I'm not, if it's there and it's not totally obscured by stuff that's behind it, I'm not taking points off, because that's, you know, you've got a scale bar on there. Check. Okay, you did it.
Yeah, no, but I agree. I was trying to look to how to customize that on Google Earth Pro, and it wasn't. I don't because it wasn't as intuitive. So I guess I need to just play around with it a little bit more.
Yeah.
At least on the application on the desktop version.
Yeah, the other thing, and you know, with your site, given that you know your site is mostly housed, you can get a very reliable measurement from the ground with a tape measure. So I would do that and, you know, measure either corner to corner on the house. I wouldn't use the actual width of the house because you can't see that under the eaves, right? So I would use use the width of the pool.
That's I wish that was
or the width of that patio, actually.
That's just turf grass, that part over there.
Oh, it's not a pool. Okay.
No, I wish it was. That was just
right.
A little bit a while ago.
Okay, so you could use the width of that patio, which is very clear. You can see edge to edge. So use that to measure, and then you've got a very reliable, like on the ground marker, and you can make sure that your scale matches that. Because Google Earth, like satellite imagery, has gotten a lot better, but there is still like quite a margin of error potentially.
Got it. Compare.
Oh, and yeah, you're in Las Vegas, so your data is probably going to be pretty solid. It's generally where I see it break down is like, let's say like, yeah, rural area. It's the data here is I would generally rely on it, but the error, there is an error margin to keep in mind. So whenever you can get an on the ground measurement to calibrate it, I would do that.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Now that we're looking at the slides,
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you sent over the video feedback. I guess I don't have a link to it.
Hector, I did yours last. I did not record a video feedback
Okay,
for
got it.
you. And I'll tell you why. One, because I mean, I'm gonna say, oh, because it came in late, which is totally fine. But I had like 15 minutes that I knew I could grab before my daughter woke up. And so I was like, I'm just gonna grade it. So I wanted to go through it, but I couldn't record because then the house would be awake because I think it was like 5:30 in the morning or something. Okay,
No, and
and
that's
I can
fine.
see
I
I've got
guess like in general terms, you saw everything was, I guess, points of improvement is if there's anything for me to pay attention to other than, what we've talked about, the scales. And then,
Sure.
yeah, I don't know what else.
Well, I can tell you that pretty quickly. Yeah, yours looked great. I mean, this is all like when you give lots of detail, it's clear. I'm kind of a sucker for nice formatting, for keeping
Okay.
like formatting consistent, and like, headers are bold, underlined, or something that they stand out, your actual, so this is all fine. You could make these all the same size. That would make me happy, but I don't take points off for that kind of thing because it's not
Yeah,
fair,
it looks better, looks neat. All right,
yeah, it makes,
I'll take another look at this then.
yeah. So, I mean, and that's just like interview stuff. That's not a big deal. Yeah, this was fine. Yeah, macro to micro, I like to say, I just say keep it all in one slide. Like some students, want to break it up over 4 slides. I'm like, don't bother. It's like I can see right here where you are in the world. No, this looks good. I'm looking for stuff that I would have picked on. You've got a scale, you've got a north arrow. That looks fine. I can see where the site. Oh yeah, and you said you're bringing in images.
Yes, which I do. And which brings me, I guess maybe we should finish on here. So I have a follow-up question.
Okay, this is fine. I like to see 3 to 5 points on SWOT analysis, like on each section. So that's great. And like 2 to 3 sentences in the conclusion. So great. Where the SWOT analyses can get kind of frustrating for students, I think, is when it feels like you're just repeating the same thing over and over again. So usually, I believe in all the assignments. Now, every time I say in all the assignments, somebody's going to find one that doesn't have it. But there should be, for the SWOT analysis, like there's some pretty specific questions. And with the SWOT, you always want to be looking at, like, what is the point of this particular, I want to say assignment, and that might not even, there's kind of 2 assignments within most lessons. So like this section of this lesson, which in this case is like where your design site is in the world, what is the SWOT analysis for that particular perspective? So then when you're doing like the climate survey, like what is the SWOT analysis from a climate perspective? Yeah. And you may still find yourself repeating yourself, like wildfire, drought, excessive heat, sun exposure, shortage of water, bad municipal water, persistent weeds. Those are probably like top 5, 6 things that recur over and over again. And so those are, you can look at it as like, well, this is really frustrating. I can't, it's the same things over and over again. Or like, oh, well, I know these are priorities because they keep recurring. So just keep that in mind. Like if you find yourself, if you really can't generate something like more specific through that perspective, then that's just what it is. It's just something that's coming up because it's got to be a design priority. So your climate survey looked fine. I appreciate this actually, where you have like your own, I assume this is your own written description in here.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice, because usually the climate survey is like just a whole bunch of copy pasted maps. So that's nice. Yeah, this looks great. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, and then did you get my answer to this question? Water equivalent in total inches?
Yes, I saw it. It's just the sum of everything that precipitation and hail and snow. Got it. Oh, I guess I forgot. Yes, so if we make changes to let's say assignment number 1, right? Or we add something to it, a map or a picture that I'm missing, do we need
Yep.
to click on resubmit this assignment? Or should I just leave like a little note or send you an email? How?
Oh, you know what? I
I'm
didn't even
missing the
know there was,
what do I do there?
I didn't know there was a resubmit button.
Yeah, I
So,
see it and it says, yeah, resubmit this assignment. So I'm guessing that you just get like a
okay.
notification or something.
Yeah, that would be great because then what it'll, actually, I would love, yeah, I would love to see you do that because you're thinking that for lesson 1, right?
Yes, exactly, because
Yeah.
I'm missing a few
Okay.
pictures.
I haven't, to my knowledge, I haven't had any students do that. So I would appreciate your doing that because then I can see, like, do that and then let me know when you've done it.
Got it.
Because I'll see what happens. Because if it obliterates all my comments, all my previous grading, I'm going to be a little choked because I've already done that. And because it's very easy for me to go back into the rubric and just like, oh, now you finished your climate survey, 4 points. Now you've done this. Okay, and I'll update that mark. That's very easy. And I'd rather not have to regrade the whole thing. So let's try it for this one and see what happens. Because I didn't actually know, that's never come up. Usually I just have students email me when they've like, when they've made significant changes, like if you're like, oh, I fixed this image, if it's going to be like a difference of a point or two, it's generally like, let's just keep moving because it's not going to make a difference in whether or not you get your certificate. Like it's really not. And this is, I really look at this from a perspective of like, this is adult learning. We're not, do your best work because that's where you're building your skills. And like, this can be a really nice portfolio project for you. But I see a lot of, it's almost like grade trauma, from students. And I've been in the academic system for a long time. So it's like, I totally understand it of like, well, okay, how, I got a B+, how do I get an A? And it's like, we're not going for A's here. Like, it's not a C's get degrees kind of mentality, but like really do your best work. But my time and your time is better utilized getting assignments done and getting the right elements rather than like getting the perfect, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
yeah, I do. That makes sense.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I see it coming up already. Like, if I get this assignment in late, am I going to lose points? And it's just like there's so much like pent up anxiety, like from our educational system. It hurts. Like, it's okay. You're safe here. Like, I try to create like a safe learning space because it's hard. Like it's an adult learning course. It's through university. There is a high standard of like execution, but we also have like students that have completed high school coming through. Right. So I try to balance that. But
okay.
Anyway, so I keep that in mind, like where students are at, like you've got a background in what systems engineering?
Yes, I do.
Right. Okay. So you're looking for like a different level of like technical knowledge and feedback than, like in my last cohort, I had a guy that he was in his like late 70s. He's been farming for like 60 years. And he's like, I'm just doing this for my own land. He ended up actually networking with the university to create some research projects, but he just did hand-drawn maps. He did like his own process. He'd been already consulting for like 30 years. He had a ton of experience, but he wasn't going to sit at his computer all day making like beautiful, like perfectly.
Exactly. I didn't really care about that.
Finesse maps, right? So that wasn't, it's context. It's a personal context question. So, yeah.
All right. No, that's it. And I'm sorry, Kim, if I stole the spotlight here. I really wanted to clear those up. But that's it. I guess I have one more question more in general, but maybe we can tackle it later. I don't know, Kim.
Sure, Kim. I mean, Kim, where are you at? Are you?
I don't have any questions. I'm okay.
Okay. All right. I'm just kind of surprised. I thought there was going to be a few more people. I just want to check my email really quickly to see that there's nobody like that couldn't find their way. Diane. Oh, okay. Let me see, 3 hours ago, 1 hour ago. Okay, so she found the Zoom link, but it looks like she's not going to be here. Nope, okay. It is just us. Okay, so Hector, what's your next question?
After reading the material for assignment, I'm not even sure if it was assignment 1 or 2. The videos actually.
Okay.
it's video 12 or 13, and it's about the climate. It's understanding the climate of your design site. And the presenter, I'm not sure, I don't remember the name. He's talking about jet streams and then the types of weather, depending if you're close to the coast or if you're inland, etc. Now that's an entire, I don't know, an entire 4-year degree in its own, right? And while interesting as it may be, how much, like from the eyes of permaculture, how much do we need to understand on that topic, right? Is it just sufficient to go on Google Earth and just on Google and then just try to find something about that site, or should we be more aware of something additional? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Okay. I want this on record so I can like write a blog post about it after. Pretty much everything in a permaculture design certificate, like every lesson in this course could be a 4-year degree. Pretty much, not entirely, but you could find a 4-year degree in so many different topics within this umbrella. So go as deep as you want to, go as deep as you need to, and then once as much as you want to. I think especially with something like climate, it's never going to harm you to to learn more about what's going on. But there is a saturation point, or like what is it, the law of diminishing returns? Yeah. Like where, okay, you're getting more information on the ground, it's not really making that big of a difference, right? Like for us, for instance, so we're on a 1/4 acre site, we're up on a ridge above the city. We get Santa Ana winds. So they're very dry, hot winds coming off of the desert to basically to our east, kind of northeast. Traditionally, those have come through in October. Over the last, I've been here for 8 years. My husband says over the last 5 to 6 years, they've been coming increasingly in January, which means when they come through, instead of being scorching hot, they're cold. And so, I can look at a windrows all day long. I can pull up climate data, until the cows come home, but we know what those wind patterns are. And then we get sea breezes off the coast, so from the southwest. So, southwest. We're like facing the ocean here, but the ocean is actually we're looking south. So I still get turned around after, all these years. And I'm looking out my window at the Santa Monica Mountains out to the south right now. And I feel like I'm looking west, but I'm not. So I know what those wind patterns are. It's helpful to me to have some idea of wind speed. So if I'm looking at our data monitor and it's this is a 20 mile per hour wind, we're predicted to get up to 35, or, this is a 5 mile per hour wind, it's only going to hit 15 today. I know what the differences are. It's also helpful for me to be able to look back and be like, oh, in the 60s, these were coming more from the east, a different time of year, and stronger winds. So from a practical perspective, what we've done is we plant things on the northeast and east side of the property that can get battered, that can take that wind and do well with being broken down. So we use tree dahlia, which basically that's how they regenerate themselves. As they get knocked down, they reroot from the stems. And that tree dahlia is also a really good animal forage. So it gets knocked down, it replants itself. We cut a bunch back, feed it to the animals, and that keeps that cycle going. For a long time, we had fruit trees over there, and they just kept getting so hammered on that one side that we're like, well, we're not getting any yield off of these. This is ridiculous. So we moved or took out the fruit trees and put things in there that could take that wind, right? So yeah, so it's stuff like that. Use the amount of information and data that's useful to you.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, it's okay, it might be time to move on and learn something, fill in another area. And so the background on this, sort of on this course, I know Andrew and Dow like developed it and put it online through the university prior to this point. But Andrew's worked with Darren Dougherty of the Agrarians group for a long time. Darren's perspective and like his Agrarians training is really based on the scale of permanence, which is essentially like you start from, there's a few different versions of it, but essentially the idea is that you start from things that they're fairly difficult to change, but if you change them, they don't tend to change back. So we start with climate, right? Like obviously we've changed the climate. It took a long time, and it's proving very difficult to change it back. And then we go through that through like, you know, water, we can influence our geography or topography to a certain extent, you know, with earthworks and moving, that sort of thing. All the way down through like soils, building, forestry, you know, trees take a long time, but they're relatively easy to put in the ground. You know, buildings feel permanent, but they're actually quite, you know, they're relatively easy to plan, and, you know, they have a shorter lifetime than like a geographic time scale, all the way up to like livestock, and then like our energy, our enterprise and stuff like that. So the way that this course is laid out is very similar. It's kind of based on that framework. Are you furiously taking notes?
Yes. I mean,
okay.
not all of it, but yes, the most important points, and it makes sense, right?
Oh, okay. Because I do also provide a summary. Okay.
Okay, got it.
I do give a summary and a transcript, because I find if I take notes and I'm trying to, anyway, so if that's helpful, sometimes it is just helpful to take notes. We've got Michael coming in. Okay, so the scale of permanence, all of those pieces. So I want to say the major benefit of having that kind of a framework is that you don't skip over the things that aren't your favorite. So everybody's got an area they really love to play. And for me, it's livestock in tree systems, soil stuff, water and topography. It took me a long time to kind of bend my brain around climate stuff. I like playing in like business circles, you know, and doing like budgets and all the spreadsheets and stuff. Stuff like photovoltaics, all the energy systems, I'm very beginner at. So I tend to gloss over those things or like jump over them if there's not a very clear framework for how I'm going to design that, especially when I'm designing for a client, right? I'm like, oh, I want to make this like super cool, whatever livestock system, you know, all these like agroforestry trees, and it's great, fun. But, oh, oops, we forgot the photovoltaics. That would actually be a really good implementation for the system, and designing that first for whatever reason. But that kind of a framework keeps you moving through all the areas, and then you can always go back and add detail or build something out, bring in another consultant or like collaborate with somebody. But that's the value of that, is like making sure that you don't skip over points. So
Gotcha.
good morning,
Okay.
Michael. Nice to see
Hi,
you.
Michael.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Sorry
right.
to join a little late.
No, that's all right. Do you have any new questions? If you haven't been here, you don't know what we have gone over. We've just kind of gone over through like Basemap and client survey and different aspects. Did you have any specific questions you're coming in with?
No, so for me, I'm more or less behind. I've been traveling for work the last couple of weeks and just started launching into everything.
Okay.
So I wanted to join this, kind of see what's going on and see if there's anything that you highly recommend in terms of how I get caught back up.
Sure. Well, yeah, dive into, how far are you into lesson 1, or have you started, or where are you at?
I have not started doing any actual work other than the meet and greet and my personal profile and who I am sort of scenario. And then I'm halfway through the book. I started reading it before the class started, or at least
Okay.
the practical permaculture book, which I think was the one that was
Oh, the
recommended.
practical permit. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. But beyond that, no, I'm woefully behind and unstarted.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
What I would say is, first off, get comfortable with, I just gotta go back and do a share here.
The website.
Share screen. Zoom and I have a love-hate relationship. Okay, oh, sorry, Kim, this is yours. I'm not gonna, I
No.
wasn't trying to share your personal.
Okay.
Although that's, I mean, front page, she's done a really nice job of personalizing, you know, so like getting an image into the header chapter. That's a nice way of getting started. This is actors, same thing, kind of a different way of doing that. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the, have you gone into the design template yet?
No,
Okay,
I'm not.
go there first.
Okay.
Yeah, just get familiar, scroll through the whole thing. I'm totally on board with supporting students to like personalize it and make it their own. It is a really strong template. Like it has been developed by like people that have been doing this work for quite a long time and do very good work. It's got a lot of detail into it.
Okay.
There's been a lot of feedback from, I mean, they've been running the course, I think, for at least 10 years now. So there's been a lot of feedback into it. There's a lot of like links to videos, links to other resources, examples. So especially if you're coming in late, I recommend really focusing on going through, getting like the core information. And if you're getting overwhelmed and get stuck, go to something easy. Like, oh, I can put in my location. I can put in like the number of acres. Do something easy, right? And then when you're not overwhelmed, come back to it, you know, and do something a little more involved.
And then
yeah.
is the template focused on just getting kind of caught up for week one, or will we be working from the template sort of throughout the duration of the course?
The templates for the whole course.
Okay.
So each of these is linked. Oh, see, some of these links end up broken because they.
Oh, great. No, this is fun. Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, but you can go through. Yeah, I mean, the table of contents doesn't necessarily function as it should. Oh, that's funny. You know what? I didn't even notice that these numbers were default. I've been praising all my students for like, oh, look, you've already updated your page numbers. So there, credit wherever wherever I feel like dropping credit, not necessarily where it's due. Yeah, so go through, and you can personalize these images. I recommend doing the personalization stuff either afterwards or when you're like, you need a mental break, you want to do something fun. You know, it's all pretty self-explanatory. What's not always self-explanatory, I need to find examples of the design site. So here, if you scroll to the right or left, whatever it is on yours, you get these really nice design examples.
Wow, these are neat.
Yeah, if things are on one slide in the example, unless you have a really good reason for breaking it out into multiple slides, just don't. Just keep it simpler. Yeah, I mean, this is already, it's close to 100 pages, I believe. Oh, 151 total slides. You would never hand a client a 150-page report, right?
I see people do it all the time. I don't think it's very practical or useful, but yes.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, in this context, What is your background?
So my background's primarily in strategy consulting, funny enough, but I'm currently working a lot in the environmental arena. So building technology solutions that accelerate the speed at which landowners adopt sustainable agriculture, which is how I got turned on to this. So this is for me just personally because I really enjoy the subject matter. And hope to someday do this for myself. But I have two kind of options for this. One of my clients was just donated a very large 350-acre property that they're hoping to turn into a sustainable farm as a kind of a showpiece for the region so people can come and learn. And so he's given me permission to build out something on that as a part of this course, which would be fun. The alternative, which is actually much more business focused for me, is I have interest in applying some of these practices at scale, so more county or region wide, and say, how can we put some of these practices how could we implement these, go after a $10 to $50 million grant and do this to drive groundwater recharge across the entirety of the county. So for example,
what county are you?
San Luis Obispo. Central Coast of California.
You're in SLO County. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So do you have you have a piece of land for that second option, correct?
So that second option would be the county-wide. And so what I would do on the back
Oh.
end is we would be, this is exemplary and it's part of why I want to do the class. Could we, using GIS data layer maps, be able to target in on the properties that have the greatest potential for groundwater recharge, and then implement things like keyline plows and other practices to really drive that groundwater recharge? And that's more what
Yeah,
my
okay.
company does, is we would design the processes on the back end to drive grant funding to individual landowners to adopt these practices.
Okay.
So that's probably that's a longer conversation for elsewhere, but
No, yeah, I know. I'm just like looking at like what you would, I would pick a single focal site for this course.
Okay.
Because otherwise you're going to have a very hard time like shoehorning a bigger context, like a county context into this
Perfect.
format. Yeah, so
That's
I would
what my
really go
thinking
with
was as well.
Yeah.
But I may have two
Mhm.
templates going, just so you know, as I'm building another one. But I'll do one for the
It's
class
your
that way.
time. Yeah. How you use that's fine. That's totally fine. I do recommend going through with a single property, especially because you're going to be going in and doing like soil tests. And if you're looking at like countywide, you're like, oh, where do I go? Right.
Okay. Yes.
I mean, you can get a lot of, generalized soil information, but that section of the course is definitely like go to this one place and get soil samples and soil information.
Okay.
Well, that's very cool. Are there buildings on the three? You said 350
Yes.
acres.
Yes. There's one large barn.
Great. Okay. I
There
like to
are
see
numerous wells.
Yeah. Okay, so I like to
Not
see
so-
students go through with an actual like roof area and like some kind of buildings like to design around it.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds
There's
like
one
you've-
older. Yeah. There's
yeah.
one older house that's a little bit defunct, and then there's a large barn, numerous wells,
Okay.
several roads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're well set. I would just go with go with
one
that
location.
specific design site and use it. Think of it in terms of like a portfolio project, because that would be a great example to present to landowners that you're saying like, hey, you guys could get these grants. This is an example of this one site. So yeah, I think that's a good approach.
Okay.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, I would just get going with the template, filling in details as you go. I mean, it sounds like you've got background to work with coming into it, and it's not going to be hugely challenging. So,
okay.
I want to say generally always available by email, but Mondays and Thursdays are really my clear like working days when I can like answer emails and answer questions. So if you've got questions that didn't get answered here or that you've got coming up, either drop them in the discussion forums or send me an email. But Monday and Thursday are when I'm really dedicated checking. So,
okay,
cool.
No, I saw that email around your working schedule. I really appreciated it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay. I also have a 5-year-old, so I've got pretty strict boundaries around when I can and when I can't work. But
I've got a 3 and 5-year-old. Understood.
You've got a 5-year-old?
A 3, well, soon to be 3 and soon to be 5-year-old as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so you get it. All right. Well, we're 11:30. Is there any other questions or anything we didn't answer? I didn't answer.
No, not for me.
No. Are you still with us, Kim?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm trying to get back to, stop share right there. You said there you are. Okay. All right. Well, it was nice to see you. It was nice to meet you guys. Completely different group from the last one. So.
Yeah, it was very nice to meet everybody. But is this kind of the group for our small breakout, or are there more of us, or what's the?
There's
almost 30, no?
Oh yeah, so in your student group there are, I think we're close to 25 or 30. I had a couple drop out, like one woman that she's in Japan and her site's in Montana, and so I had kind of a long chat with her, and she's decided it's not really a good fit for her right now. So we lost a couple, but it's like around 20, 25. And typically just the patterns I see 12 to 15 students. So it's generally about 2/3 that start off really strong, get those first couple of assignments in. And usually in office hours, like somewhere around 10 to 15%. So usually have more like 3 to 5. So I'm a little surprised with the bigger group, there's fewer people, but it's also summer. So if people are managing land, then it's harder to make in on summer hours.
And holidays with kids.
And holidays with kids, yeah. Yeah. If you ever have a holiday when you have kids, I don't know.
Your vacation from the vacation with
Quote
them. I
unquote,
got you.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is about it. Usually like 3 to 5 students in the live office hours. I'm looking at implementing Voxer hours because I know a lot of students can't do a Zoom call in the middle of the morning, which I completely appreciate. I'm not sure that I can manage both though, because I've got a pile of grant reporting too that I need to get wrapped up. So, but I'm always, email is always easy. And then after the course, I've got some opportunities to do, like I do a Voxer hour and a bi-weekly office hour call for people to like come back, because I already know your projects. So they can come back and ask questions, be like, hey, we started implementing, this is what's going on. And so there's some opportunity there. So cool.
Great.
All right. Well, let me know
Alright.
if you have if there's any questions or issues to run into, but it was nice to see you all.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Final one,
Okay.
Susan.
Yeah, Hector,
sorry,
nice to meet you guys as well.
Oh, actually,
Nice to
yeah.
meet you. Yeah, sorry. Are the hours for the session, the bi-weekly, is it going to be 10:30 then?
It is going to be 10:30.
It's set at 10:30. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
thank
set
you.
at 10:30. Yeah, that gives me the opportunity to book a room at our library. They changed their summer hours, so yeah. I managed to get everybody out the door at like 10:20 this morning. I was like, okay, you guys need to go. I don't have a dedicated office right now, so
Good job.
yeah.
All right. No, that was it. Thank you, Susan.
Okay. See you
Okay.
next time.
Have a great
Thank
week,
you so
guys.
much.
All right. Nice meeting you all. Have a good one.
Bye.